Welcome learners. In the past session you have discussed about livelihood framework and the importance of 5 different capitals which are essential for making livelihoods in the rural and tribal communities. And today we are going to discuss about natural capital, human capital and physical capital with an example of agrobiodiversity. First let us see about natural capital. Natural capital consists of access to range of resources, land, water, soil, forest, wildlife, fauna, aquatic resources, grazing and agrobiodiversity. These resources provide necessary food to meet dietary requirements of human, besides fodder for animals, fuel, etc. Apart from such material benefits, it generates required ecosystem services, example pollination services, nutrient cycling, erosion protection, etc. that are essential for the well-being of the humans and ecosystems. In the livelihood framework, natural capital is the base, which is directly related to vulnerability context. Higher access to quality natural capital reduce the vulnerability context and ensure food and nutrition security of the households. Let us see about agrobiodiversity. Agrobiodiversity comprises of variety and variability of plants, animals, microorganisms at genetic, species and ecosystem levels which are necessary to sustain key functions in the agroecosystems to ensure food and nutrition security. So, let us see the 3 different categories of agrobiodiversity. First one is genetic diversity. It includes species used directly or indirectly for food and agriculture, including crops, livestock, forestry and fisheries. And second one is species diversity. It comprises the diversity of genetic resources, varieties and breeds, and species used for fodder, food, fiber, fuel and pharmaceuticals. And third one is the ecosystem diversity. It also includes the diversity of non-harvested species that support production, example soil microorganism, predators, pollinators, etc. And those in the wider environment that support agroecosystems, example agriculture, pastoral, forest and aquatic, as well as the diversity of agroecosystems. Let us see the different examples of each of this. The first one is genetic diversity. Here rice genetic resources, the Orissa region is the secondary center of origin of rice. More than 1750 land races have been cultivated, but now only 10 species are cultivated. And these species have different uses in the day-to-day life. For example, the rice variety Kala Krishna, which is a centered variety, which is being used in all festivals during January month. But if we take Kala Jeera, which is also a centered rice used for temple purposes, but in November for the particular festival they use. Likewise, each and every land races have linked with some of the cultural values that help to conservation of such varieties in that particular ecosystem. When we come to the next example of species diversity, where you can see the differences among maize, potato and rice within the particular crop type, you can see several different colors of having different values, nutrition as well as other qualities included in the different species. When we come to millets, in millets, little millets, Italian millet, common millet, kodo millet, in each of it there is a great amount of diversity which is being cultivated in tribal and marginalized part of the country. When we see the examples from the tribal regions where species diversity including roots and yams which is cultivated at the backyard of the households or homestead or wild or semi-arid ecosystems plays a major role in providing food and nutrition security of the local community. The third example we see is ecosystem diversity, wherein the wetland ecosystem of Kuttanad is a typical example where traditional paddy fish based farming system is being cultivated along with agroforestry, and this system is being recognized by FAO as a globally important heritage system in 2013. Now the government is taking effort to manage the ecosystem in a proper way. And now let us see the significant benefits of agrobiodiversity. This agrobiodiversity plays a major role in ensuring food and nutrition diversity, provide diverse diet to the household, and at the same time it help us to develop different kind of ecosystem services along with employment opportunities for the people who have been using those resources for their livelihoods. These have significant benefits in the livelihoods of people. The first one is contribution to nutritious diet and human health, and second one is supporting building the resilience in the production system, especially for drought and flood situation. Third one is conservation of ecosystem services and provide stability. Fourth one is serving as a pool of genetic resources for future crop development programs. Fifth one is nurturing self-reliance and localization of food system. In the pandemic period, the localization of food system has assumed greater importance in ensuring food and livelihood security of the local people. And the sixth one is encouragement of sustainable natural resource management at farm and system level. Seventh one is creating employment. Eighth is promoting farmers, fishers, herders, innovation and local knowledge system in use and management of genetic resources, because men and women farmers in the rural and tribal pockets are being custodians and managers of agrobiodiversity. Specifically, this agrobiodiversity is closely linked with nutrition, wherein it has value in the day-to-day life. First one is the diverse foods of both cultivated and wild foods, including plant-based food, fish and aquatic foods, livestock derived food, forest food including fruit, nut, honey, insect, tubers, etc. They are rich in nutrients of adequate dietary diversity and quality. Here some of the typical examples of protein, fiber, vitamin, minerals and antioxidants are coming from such wild foods, serving as a safety net from the seasonal food shortages and hunger. Especially in tribal communities, they depend on wild yam, mushroom, wild animals or birds, etc. during lean agriculture season for the food. And the fourth one is it acts as a kind of an repository for genetic resources, helps in future crop development program. Example, biofortified varieties, recent developments of zinc rich paddy variety. The three different varieties DRR Dhan 45, 48, 49 and Dhan Shakti, that is iron rich pearl millet variety. Such varieties are being developed notifying different nutrients which are essential in addressing malnutrition effect. And coming to the changing livelihood capital, why we are talking about this loss of agrobiodiversity. The heterogeneity, which is the characteristics of agrobiodiversity, has been declining at fast rate. In over 100 years of agriculture practice, more than 75% of the plant genetic diversity has been lost in crops, especially species and genetic diversity. Again, the FAO study has pointed out that 2.5 to 3 lakh known edible plant species have recorded, but only 150 to 200 are consumed by humans, of which rice, maize, potato and wheat contribute 60% of the calories and protein. 75% of the food is derived from only 12 plants and 5 animal species, and 30% of the livestock breeds are at risk of extinction and 6 breeds are lost each month. This is the scenario of declining agrobiodiversity. Such a loss in genetic resources have also adversely affected the associated human knowledge, which are crucial for addressing malnutrition and adaptation to environmental changes. Now we see the vulnerability context with the reduction of agrobiodiversity. First one is shrinking food basket. The changing cropping systems and crop rotation towards monocultures reduced on-farm diversity. This is adversely affecting the dietary diversity of the rural households. The second point is reduction in the on-farm diversification. The allied enterprises such as dairy, goat, or poultry, fish and horticulture and other tree species are also reduced in many farms as they are undergoing changes in the cropping system towards monoculture. This is also linked with increasing commercialization focus and reduction in the family labor. And the third point is invasive species. This have huge impact on local species which has food and nutritional value. Example, Lantana camara, Parthenium, Prosopis juliflora. These wild species growth affect the growth of the green leaf vegetables and plants, having medicinal values to human and livestock in different packets. Fourth one is the loss of traditional knowledge. Changes in the economic activities, migration, subsistence to commercial production with productivity focused production, etc., are resulted in changes in the agriculture practices that affected the value and relevance for traditional knowledge. The fifth one is changing social values on foods. Values are more towards dominant cereals, rice and wheat, which is commonly available in public distribution systems, that restrict families to cultivate millets, leading to changes in dietary and food practices. The sixth one is migration. Migration affects the labor availability at the household level, leading to disruption in the cultivation of certain crops and practices. And seventh one is loss in social network, which is most important one. The seed network among farmers helps to exchange high quality seed materials of traditional varieties. The network played the role in conservation of the particular variety, and now farmers could not trace the traditional variety and lost such informal networks also. The changes in the rainfall pattern, especially the onset of monsoon in the sowing season, affect the sowing or planting of the traditional land races, or increase in the sea surface temperature affect the fish diversity, distribution, abundance and phenology, and negative impact on the coral species in terms of cover and appearance. The third aspect is seasonality. Here the seasonality, the employment plays a major role due to this agrobiodiversity context. Increasing trend in employment of both youth and adult farmers to non-farm employment affect the household labor availability, which affects the area under cultivation of labor intensive crops and mixed cropping practices. Thereby on-farm biodiversity is getting affected, which is indirectly affecting the household food and nutrition security. The typical example is mixed cropping system in tribal farming, where it is not only used for household food security, dietary balance and nutritional benefits, it's also enable the farmers with additional monetary benefits and act as a risk reduction strategy. Then now we see the policies, institutions and processes. The livelihood assets and vulnerability context are interlinked. The livelihood assets, especially the natural capital and human capital, are linked with social capital in the management of agrobiodiversity elements. Due to the climate shocks, that is continuous rainfall or flooding or seasonal drought and subsequent migration of the family members, few of the assets, especially social and physical assets, gets changed, wherein women end up in managing the farm without much support from men in the households. For that, enabling policies which are functioning at the local level may be a kind of a negative impact. The existing schemes are promoting the monocultures and high yielding varieties, which discourage farmers to practice diverse farming practices. The incentives, subsidy schemes, insurance products and financial linkages are given only to monocropping and high yielding varieties and not for the mixed or intercropping systems. Such policies aim to promote food security of smallholder farming households, need to maintain the balance between food and cash crops rather than narrow down the options for the cash crops. Third point is the institutions at the village level that promotes the agrobiodiversity were defunct. Seed exchange typical example is seed exchange network, seed sowing festivals, community labor sharing practices, etc. promotes the diverse crops that are not functioning now. Such cultural values placed on managing the agrobiodiversity elements are also on the verge of disappearance. In relation to that, the formal institutions like Department of Agriculture, Horticulture Department are promoting practices which focus on monocultures. Access to credit and insurance services are given towards such monocrops, not for the diversity or crop which are cultivated under mixed cropping system. And the C part is processes. Gender roles and relations are undergoing changes without much related changes in the access to productive resources as well as decision making at household and societal level that affect the agrobiodiversity management. And coming to the livelihood strategies, at this stage, the vulnerability context play a major role in deciding the farming systems. Here, men and women have different livelihood strategies. For example, access to labor, land and social capital support women farmers to follow mixed cropping system or food crop as a livelihood strategy in rainfed or marginalized landscapes to ensure household food needs. While in irrigated condition, access to labor, land and financial resources tend to invest and grow cash crops, wherein women are still continuing the farming while men move to non-farm sector in small farming households. In this context, the different asset combinations are required to achieve varied livelihood outcomes, ensuring availability of adequate and diverse food for the households, that is for throughout the year. It includes natural capital, social capital and human capital. Then adaptive risk management measures in reducing vulnerability. Example, seasonal flood or drought, which requires the capitals like natural capital, physical, human capital along with social capital. And the third point is adapting farming systems that balance the household food needs as well as cash income. Here again, natural capital, social, human and financial capital are necessary. The fourth one is sustainable use of resources. Here the agrobiodiversity along with other natural capitals, namely soil, water, for efficient production of resources are necessary. When we come to the natural capital with an example of agrobiodiversity, this natural capital is closely linked with human capital, which is gendered traditional knowledge is the key for agrobiodiversity management. And here the women play a major role. They are users, preservers and managers of agrobiodiversity, and women are traditional caretakers of crop genetic diversity in agriculture. Their contribution in resource management has not been widely accepted by the wider societies. Here the lack of documentation of such knowledge or systems denies their access to the resulted inequality in sharing the benefits. Again, the sustainable management of agrobiodiversity needs to adopt community-based approach in which intersectionality plays a key role in enabling access, control and decision making. In the intersectionality here we mean the elements like social or class, caste, gender, ethnicity play a major role in making such diverse knowledge at the local level. When we come to the next element of human capital, and here the human capital plays an element in relation to traditional knowledge in managing the agrobiodiversity resources. Here the human capital is defined as skill, knowledge, ability to labor, education and good health that together make people to pursue different livelihood strategies and achieve their livelihood objectives. Sustaining management of agrobiodiversity needs to adopt community-based approach in which different factors play a major role in enabling access, control and decision making. When we come to the physical capital, which consists of necessary infrastructure and tools and technology for the livelihood activities in managing diverse food crops, here access to the infrastructure and tools are crucial in managing agrobiodiversity. The example, access to land, livestock and farm machinery and processing facility are the key factors in sustainable management of agrobiodiversity. Their contributions in evolving livelihood strategies by applying local knowledge are significant. Example, selection of suitable type of land races in Little Millet according to the land and soil type. And here we need to see their folk taxonomical knowledge which are crucial in understanding the crop genetic resources. To sum up, the agrobiodiversity is the main natural capital accessible to the small and marginalized farm households to ensure their household and food security with diverse diets for balanced nutrition. Then genetic, species and ecosystem level diversity are necessary to maintain the structures and processes essential for sustainability. This is as part of natural capital we need to understand and restore it. And third one is the agrobiodiversity management, which is linked to human and natural capitals. The fifth one is gendered local knowledge is based for appropriating harnessing the natural capital for the sustainable livelihoods in the marginalized context. Learners, additional references are given here. Here these additional references will help you to get more insights, and also the questions for self-assessment are provided in the unit for your benefit. With this, I conclude this session. Thank you learners. I look forward for continuing the discussion in this theme, and the next session will follow on social capital and cultural capital, which are linked with these three capitals which we have seen in this session. Thank you very much.